Just always on the 15th.
Yeah. No, it's a given, it's there's a date that you're supposed to have.
So
Is it a Tuesday, third?
So it just happenstance that it's National Pirate Day?
Tax day?
Yes, National Pirate Day.
I didn't catch the date.
Talk like a pirate day is coming up. So, right.
No, we have a national and an international. I'm surprised we don't have a state day. It's a rough day on the radio when we do that.
Don't pirates have to be international by definition? To pirate? They have to be in international
Probably
water.
on microphone by now.
Interesting.
It's 9:01.
I think you could commit piracy in that.
It is now 9:01, and we're going to call this annual equalization meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Mr. Gibbon, a roll call vote, please.
Certainly.
Or, sorry, attendance.
Yes. Andrews?
Here.
Flynn?
Here.
Henschel?
I'm here.
McAllister? Morris?
Here.
Nelson? Spence?
Here.
And Walter? Seifert?
Here. So that's enough to get the ball rolling. So, do first public comment. Lloyd, you got anything? All right, Jim, it's all you.
Okay. Another wintry day. We all get together on it. I appreciate you making it out to this. It's not a date of my choosing. It's a date that's in the tax calendar. And I would like to begin by thanking the board for the support of the Equalization Department. Our dedicated team has worked all year in preparing this report. And actually, we've got a little work done on the report that will come next year on the Tuesday following the second Monday. So I want to thank the local assessors also because they worked diligently with our team to meet the equalization levels that we prescribed. And I'm happy to say that I can recommend to you county commissioners that you can equalize the assessed values as assessed by the local assessors with no factors. I hope this report contains all the information you'd like to see, and if not, let me know. I'd be glad to include anything else that you would like to see. We serve on your behalf per Michigan compiled law, just like this date is prescribed by Michigan compiled law. And so I prefer this meeting to be an open dialogue. I don't have a large volume of things that I want to present to you. It was all presented in the report, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
You have any, you want me to pick Vanna White for you, or you want to?
Please.
So Jim has, first of all, let me say, Jim is largely respected as a very talented assessor. He does very good work for the county, and he makes sure that we have the financial information we need to have specific to our taxable value ahead of each and every fiscal year budget preparation. And largely, it's safe to say that we still are seeing a pretty healthy increase.
Yep.
We're seeing a very stable environment in our housing, in our financial environment, and Jim didn't do that, but Jim is able to, it's more of a term of art, I guess, than science in some respects. Jim is able to make sure that we have a very good assessment going forward. So he has some slides here that he would like to kind of walk through, and I'll move them as you wish.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, you usually like to see what the taxable value is, and on the next page you would have a total taxable value for 2025 down in the bottom right-hand corner, and what percent that is of an increase. I know that's one thing that it seems that boards gravitate to.
So when I saw this, I immediately went to 7.52. Over the last 2 years, it's been higher than that. I asked Jim, hey, can you give me an understanding of why that dropped, 2.5%, and, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, and basically, the inflation rate that the taxable value can go up legally in a year. For the last 2 years, that amount was 5%, that the taxable value could go up because of the high inflation that we were experiencing. For this number, the taxable value was only allowed to go up 3.1%, so that about makes up the difference of increase. If you go to the further charts, you can see it visually as far as we could even scroll down to the increase chart there in 8. Yeah, that one. So you can see the orange graph chart of taxable value, and you can see that the assessed value is far exceeding the increase of the taxable value, and that's the way Proposal A was designed to work for people that stayed in their homes. They would have the benefit of that capped taxable value as inflation took the assessed to wherever the market is measured, and the market's super hot, as everybody knows.
So I got some questions, Jim.
Sure.
Right off. So for all the folks at home, we always talk about, can you tell me the difference? I'm on page 7 of 26, and I'll get to that one too. What's the difference between real property, personal property, and the ad valorem property, if I pronounce that correctly?
Yep. So the real property is permanently affixed to the land, and personal property is stuff that's inside a building or not permanently affixed to the
Okay.
land. Now, ad valorem is a value that is taxed based on its value. When we apply a millage, a mill is $1 for every $1,000 of ad valorem value. This report only includes the ad valorem parcels. There are other parcels that are in special acts like senior citizen housing pilts, the DNR. There are a couple more, but they're not ad valorem based on their value. They're not taxed based on their value. Like the DNR pilts is pretty much what the state says they will pay in place of the property tax for this.
Okay.
Senior citizen pilt is an agreement that is worked with the local unit to pay only a certain amount of property tax to bring a project in. And so it's not taxed based on the value of the property. So ad valorem is taxed based on the value of the property.
All right. So when we go down to the next page there, 9 of 26 says county equalized and taxable value. So, and just because it's similar words, how is county equalized versus state equalized value?
So our taxation process for property tax has evolved over the years. When it first started at statehood, basically there was a school district boundary and an assessment boundary that matched the typical 6 mile by 6 mile township. And there would be one room schoolhouse in the middle of that. The taxation was simple then when the school district boundary and the assessing boundary were the same. When you have two townships that want to have a single school district in the two townships, but yet you're still forced to have an assessor in each township, you have two differing opinions on value, and Equalization's job is to look at the differing opinions of value and make sure they're more on track with a similar opinion of value, because you don't want one township paying twice as much money to the combined school district as the other township if you're assessing land for, say, in the old days, $100 an acre in one township, $200 acre. In the other township, they combine their school districts with just one millage that creates an inequity. And so that's a simplistic view of where equalization came from. I don't think I completely answered your question, and could you repeat the end of it for me?
Sure. You're getting there, though,
Okay.
I think. What I asked was, is like, how does the county
Okay.
equalized value versus the state
Yes,
equalized value?
thank you. So it's a three-pronged approach now. It's grown from just individual townships kind of taking care of themselves with all the growth and bigger districts and many other districts involved. It has developed into a three-way check and balance system between the local assessor, county equalization, and state equalization. And the county equalization determines where assessment levels in each township for each class of property, where each level should come in at for the new year of assessment based on historic sales. And so, in essence, county equalization kind of begins the assessment process by setting the assessment levels. We work diligently with the townships, and we kind of bounce back and forth on values and reasons for where we're at with our values. And then they come to that level on a parcel by parcel individual basis. And then when they do that, and when they're in a proper parameter of between 49 and 50%, after they do their March Board review, then that means that as a county, they have satisfied our sales studies, our assessment levels that we've demanded, and then as a county equalization, we will hand this off to the state. That's what we've asked you to sign in the blue folder, is what we'll hand to the state, certifying that we have county equalized these values. So the assessment is the assessors. County equalized values are what we're doing today. We'll send those to the state, and then in May, the state will state equalize statewide every county. And right now, the state has given me absolutely no indication that these values will not satisfy them when it gets to state equalization. And I would have known long before this if they were looking over my shoulder and saw a problem.
Thank you for that explanation.
So does that mean that we can assume that the SEV is going to more or less equal the CEV?
And the assess, yes. All three will be the same as what I anticipate.
That's how it's been the last forever.
Yes. Very rarely will something be factored by a county, but it does happen. And there have been circumstances where maybe the ball was dropped in communication between equalization and the local unit. And when they come in after the March Board review is final and somehow they don't make their assessment level, then I would be asking you to put a factor on that class of property to get them to the assessment level that was predetermined.
Looks like, sorry, I just keep, looks like our percentage is less high than it has been for the last several years, the growth.
The SEV or taxable?
Both.
Okay, yes, that's true.
It looks to me like the county equalization change has been much higher, is always much higher than the taxable change, but 2025 looks to be more like pre-pandemic peak housing market levels, 7% versus last year it was 10%. The year before it was 9.5%. So it looks like we're, what you might say, gotten over a peak. We're not growing by as much as we have been for the last couple of years. Is that a fair summary?
Yes, that is a true statement. I mean, on the SEV side of things, we're trying to measure market, whatever market is doing, and that also includes new construction. So I'm not sure if there were some projects in the past that maybe have come to completion now, and we don't have as much new construction, but there's a lot of it out there. It's in this process that we have, I would say that 7% and 10% is similar for my office, but I know that's not similar for yours.
Because the revenues will shift. Fair?
Just because, who knows if some reason there was a shortage of builders, or maybe the scare of tariffs, or you don't know what to put your finger on for that difference between the growth of last year and this year.
Not enough to see a pattern just yet.
Yes, exactly. I would say if you watch it a couple more years, maybe you would see a pattern there. When I first got here, values were going down. And you could actually see the downtrend in my 10-year shift, but you can't see it anymore because it's went off the radar. Might be interesting to put a 20-year together so you could see the downtrend and then the uptrend.
That might not be a bad idea.
Tempt us with a good time.
Yeah, right? Because, you probably just like that kind of torturous stuff, Jim. $12 billion.
It seems like I remember when we went over the 5 billion mark.
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago.
Now we're at 13.
Well, I've been in this profession for 40 years, and the last 6-8 years I've never seen anything like it. And Chris can attest that I've been predicting a downtrend for quite a while, and I've given up because it doesn't happen every time I predict it. So
Let's hope your luck holds. So now to be the flippant person that I am, can we take 10% right off the top before we send it to the state as a gift to the taxpayers? We like the pie charts. Wow. Anything more any questions for Jim? Jim, you want to share if anything more? Or continue on, maybe explaining the slides? Towards the back?
Yeah. They all kind of say the same basic thing, but in different ways. I think if you have questions for Jim, he's able to.
I mean, the pie charts will show what portions of the county are in various classes, or what part of the county holds the most value. It kind of shows the monetary value of some of our townships, and actually I kind of look at this sometimes when I think maybe township would respond to me as quick as another township, and sometimes they don't, and they don't have the money to have full-time staffing. I mean, you can see it on the pie chart. So I don't know, it's information that I've just over the years have presented to the board. I don't know if there's something that would help you do your job better. I certainly can put it together a 10-year line. That might be interesting.
The parcel count information is interesting because that would seem to reflect how many new, subdivisions
Yeah.
or divisions of any sort are being created over time, where those are happening at more and less percentages, right? As opposed to raw numbers, but it looks to me like we've got a slowdown in the number. After the last couple of years was over 2%, and now we're at 1.63% in terms of new parcels being created in our regions. I assume those have tax implications because they don't have they're not, what do you call it, headly locked in. They're sort of come in at full tax value, right, when you create a new parcel?
Yes, new parcels, let me think about this. When you're splitting parcels, unless they're sold, they don't come in higher. So if somebody splits a bunch of parcels, none of them are sold yet, it's basically the same amount. But as those parcels are built on and sold, yes, then they become uncapped. It seems as if there's been just a slight slowdown on condominiums, and I know condominiums can really crank a parcel number up in a hurry.
Are the parcel counts based on filing it with Register of Deeds, or how does that trigger a new parcel for purposes of this assessment?
That is a count of the parcels in the assessor's tax roll, assessment roll that turns into the tax roll. So when they total up the values and give me the reports that I use to total the values I've given to you, they do it out of their assessment roll, and whatever they have for parcels in there is what comes out in this parcel count report. I've seen parcels actually go down quite a ways because there are some mobile home parks that can have little assessments on their decks and little garages or sheds and stuff, and I've seen parcel counts vary wildly in some of those areas. So, and then personal property even. As the state took over the industrial personal property with the ESA program, then that's less personal property parcels we measure there.
The percentage of parcel count change on page 7, where it shows, because we're looking here at the raw numbers, but if you look at the percentage, you can really quickly see where growth is happening in terms of new parcels, where there's positive, so Blair, Garfield, and Traverse City, and then where it's flat to negative seems like an interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty generally, I would say that it's fairly accurate generally, yep. That more parcels mean more construction, more sales, more splitting.
Well, some of those are just, by the very nature of there are no more parcels to be had.
They create parcels, right? Garfield didn't have any until they added more, and
Yeah, I think that they had an apartment complex that they actually condominiumized each apartment, and so that one parcel became many, so.
It would be interesting to see, so I'm on a different page 16 of 26, where you have your parcel count report. That would be interesting to me to see a 10-year trend for that, for all the townships. Because as I'm looking here, I mean, I'm a heavy farmland district. It's obviously the city doesn't have any, but I think it's interesting that there isn't any in Garfield Township, so maybe the borders aren't where I think they are. And you see, it's just very interesting to me, and I think that could probably portray a trend that we probably already are aware of, but it really is more of a future information thing for planning than it is anything else.
there's one of these has an acreage by parcel count for agriculture, and that was also interesting to look at where the acreage of ag land is, and it's Mayfield and Peninsula, which is consistent with what we would expect.
Yeah, probably number 3. Anybody have any more questions for Jim? Jim, you got anything to add?
No, I think, the future's bright. I don't think you can slow this area down. When I was nervous about downturns, it actually did happen a little bit downstate where I'm from. And this area was so much more resilient than what I was used to. So it was a little learning curve in adjusting my expectations, and I just don't see how it's not going to keep increasing and growing. I read an article the other day that talked about how some of our surrounding cities like Mesik, Manton, Cadillac, they're some of the quickest growing communities in the state. And that just, you know, this whole area up here in the Northwest.
Yeah, I forget where it placed, but Buckley's like one of the fastest growing
Yeah.
school districts in the country.
Yeah.
It's like top 20 or top 40 or
So, I
something like
mean,
that. It's crazy.
It's, you know, I think that's gonna even make the buffer even better, you know, when you've got cities around us increasing, we're increasing. It seems to be a very desirable area. I love it here, and I expect a lot of people would like to come up here and love it too. So I can't see where there's any doom and gloom personally.
At least till everybody lives here, and then that'll be.
Well, you know, I came up here like 12 years ago, and they built a subdivision across the road from me, and it's like, oh, dang it, they didn't shut the door behind me.
That wall's looking more and more affordable every day. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Jim, thank you for your report. I just want to once again iterate that Jim Baker, as our Equalization Director, is a credit to Grand Traverse County. He's well-respected regionally and in the state of Michigan for his skills in equalization. Uniquely has one of the most colorful personalities in the industry of equalization. And
you caught me on a good day.
it's a different world, and you know, his education level is level 4, is as high as it goes. It's equivalent to a PhD level. You know, we've had years ago, I think the state tried to steal him from us, but fortunately he stuck around, and we really appreciate that. If it's in order, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the the motion as recommended in the packet, that the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners adopt the proposed county equalization values as presented.
Recommendation of council is that be a roll call vote.
Okay.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. There we go. So we have a motion by Commissioner Henschel, second by Commissioner Seifert, to approve the equalization report as presented. Mr. Gibbon, a roll call vote, please.
Certainly. Flynn,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Spence,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Seifert.
Yes. Motion carries. Gonna kind of reiterate a little bit what Commissioner Henschel said about you, Mr. Baker. I work with you on the land bank, and it's been a very joyous experience, and I shudder to think where we'd be without you. So thank you. And this is great. I mean, this is very simple for me to understand, because I'm just a pretty face. So thank you again. So I guess we're gonna do second public comment. Your Lloydness?
Save the
Turtles. I'm gonna get you a shirt. $19 a month, your Lloydness. It's all right, so seeing that there's nothing else, adjourn? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time today.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
15 to 20 minutes on our equalization.
Back to place.